show you a little bit of the flooding that's happening in our town. So I'm going to flip the camera around and you can see what's happening. Now this is a spot along the railroad tracks where I actually take a lot of my pictures for my sweaters. And there's usually a long grassy area before you even get to a beach. They just put up a new pavilion, I think, for like weddings and pictures and that type of thing, and it's currently flooded. So it's just incredible how much the water has risen. We were at a friend's house last night, and he has like a floating dock out past his house. He lives right on the water, and he said that that is usually 8 feet up from the water, and it was right up to the top of it. So that's how much the tides have risen. So let's have a look. Surely rolling in today. This is the train track where I usually take my pictures for my sweaters. And this is what was a walking trail area and beach. The beach was a lot farther out past those trees though. These are the tennis courts, completely flooded. And a lot of the houses along this road are sandbagged right up. And then over here, the center that you can see behind the truck is actually pumping water out of their basement as well. So just look how close the water is to the parking lot. It's completely filling the tennis courts and right up to the lip of the parking lot. Yeah, the parking lot, bud.
A diving board space right there.
They had a big retaining wall, and now the retaining wall is gone. Where those sandbags are on the edge is where the retaining wall is.
Ooh, seat.
The shot you saw of this was last night. This is the next day. Look how choppy it is. Almost 1 year ago, I met Mars, or I took Mars, I should say, to this beach where we sat and knit. Now this beach is completely flooded, and it's actually going right into the beach house as well. You can kind of see in the corner, they've got sandbags making a big dam all the way around it, and they've got pumps going. So there would be no knitting here right now. This is actually a barbecue pit with picnic tables which are completely covered. Hello, welcome to the Celtic Cast On podcast. My name is Kelly and I'm coming to you from the beautiful east coast of Canada. If this is your first time watching, thank you for joining me and checking me out today. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. You may have noticed at the very first of the video, you will have seen the flooding that's happening right now in New Brunswick. We're experiencing the most flooding that we've had in many years. And the footage that you saw was just the area where I am. I know that up north is much worse, and the flooding is still continuing. Normally this would happen in the spring for 48 hours. This has been going on for a week and it hasn't actually peaked yet. Tomorrow is supposed to be the peak point, and they said it could last for another week. So there's a lot of sandbag filling going on in communities, and people are just helping their neighbors out that are close to the water. I know that there's water in some basements already and in houses, so it's unfortunate, I guess, that it's happening. But we're all coming together and hoping to salvage what we can. So, enough about that. I don't really want to think about it right now. We're here to talk about knitting. I do have some other crafty things to share with you today too, but let's start off with knitting. So since I last podcast, I finished my sign language course and I passed. I'm going to start the level 2 in September, so I'm giving myself a little break before I go back into it again. But I did start a new sweater, and I actually might have finished that sweater before I even showed it to you. It's been blocking outside this morning and the bottom of it is still a little wet, but I wanted to show it to you now, and maybe I'll pop a little video in of me wearing it once it is dry so I can show it to you for sure. So the pattern that I knit was Wolf River, and this is by Melissa Shashawari, and she is a dandelion girl. She is one of the authors of the Plum Dandy Knits book that I recently gave away. So this is Wolf River, and it's knit in Cascade Eco Plus. I don't have my, where's my ball? There it is. Excuse me. So this is the Shire colorway of Cascade Eco Plus. This is how much I had left. The Cascade Eco comes in a huge ball. I think it's 400 and maybe 60 yards. So I only needed 2 balls to do my sweater, and I actually didn't even use all of it. The reason I started this sweater was because my friend Rachel started a sweater for her little one and got everything done but ran out on the last sleeve. So I said, oh hey, I have that colorway. I'm sure I don't need all of it. I can wind some off and send it to you. So I wound some off and sent it to her, about 20 grams or 20 yards? 20 grams I think. And this is still how much I had left of the second ball. So this was a good deal. So let me show you the finished sweater. Now I just recently took it off the blocking board, so you're gonna see pin marks on it. But this is what it looks like. You can see the bottom still wet. So this is a bulky weight yarn, and I knit it in about 2 weeks. And it was a really fun knit. I'm not a big lace person. I don't enjoy knitting lace. I can do it, no problem, but it's not an enjoyable knit for me. But the front and back just flew off the needles because it was such, I think it was 5.5 millimeter needles and then bulky yarn. It just flew. And the only modification I did on this was I didn't join all the way down with seaming. I left a little split hem. And you can see I haven't woven them in my ends yet either. But I left a split hem on either side. I thought that was a bit more flattering and a bit more modern. I don't have any shirts with split hems, so that was kind of a new thing to me. But I think it's going to be great. Show you when it's on. So hopefully I'll be able to pop a video in here for you. The pattern is super simple. No issues knitting it at all, and no issues understanding the pattern. So if you're interested in this, I've seen a lot of beautiful gray versions of this that I could just see going with everything, as well as a mustardy color, which I'm in love with, so that would be really cool too. But I'm glad that I used up my stash yarn and I was able to finish the sweater pretty quickly. So we've been having cooler weather here. It hasn't gotten too hot, so I'm hoping there's going to be a day soon that I can actually wear this. At work on Friday, the girls were saying, "You finished that sweater already? I'm surprised you're not wearing it today." I said, well, I would, but I haven't blocked it yet. So then I had to tell them all what blocking was and how it worked. So yeah, this is my sweater. Hopefully I'll get to wear it to work soon. Hey guys, it's Kelly from the future, and here's my finished Wolf River. You can see the split hem at the sides. And the back. What do you think? Perfect fit?
But yeah.
So that's my finished object, and I have 2 whips that I'm working on in knitting. The first one you have seen before. I finished the first sock. Let me put it on my blocker. I finished the first sock of my Dynamics yarn that Mars dyed for me, that I'm calling Blueberry Jam. I found a little mini to go for the heels and toes, but I ended up not having enough to do the toes. So I just did a heel and then just continued on. I could have done, I had a color, I wonder if I have it in here. Yeah, I had this that I had crocheted some little squares with that's kind of similar to the turquoisey color in here, but I didn't want them to be too garish. So I just went with the regular yarn for the toe and then just did the heels, which I think are still pretty cute. This mini is from Dana from Germany. She sent me a package with lots of little minis last year, I believe. Maybe the year before, Dana. I'm not sure. But this is one of her minis, so it's kind of cool to have her mini in my sock, and I can think of her whenever I wear these, as well as Mars, who dyed the yarn. So that's the first one. And the second one is on the needles. Let me tell you, I'm going back to my DPNs as soon as this sock is off my needles. I have a rhythm with the needles now. These are the 9-inch circular needles, 2.25s. I have a rhythm going with it, but I just do not enjoy knitting with it. It's so much slower for me than the DPNs. Even though I found a rhythm, it's just, I don't know. I don't like knitting that slow, I guess. So I've got the leg done, and I'm about to cast on for the heel. Not cast on for the heel, start the heel. And then I can hopefully zoom through the foot. This is my third pair for my box of socks, which are up there. So I'm a little bit behind. I'm hoping to catch up once I go back to my DPNs. And yeah, I think that's it for these socks. So that's how I'm going. I like to have a plain sock on the needles though. And actually I have a Quilt Guild meeting soon, so I should probably get the heel and the gusset done so that I can just zoom on the foot while I'm in that meeting. That would be perfect. So that is that. And my other whip, I started another sweater. Okay, so this is also Stash yarn. All my sweaters, everything I'm knitting right now is coming from Stash. So I had of course, I'm always thinking about what sweater I'm going to knit next while I'm knitting the current sweater I'm knitting. So I was having a think, and I thought I was going to maybe use some alpaca yarn. I have a pretty like magenta pink that I tried to sell it for a while because I hated the color, and now I'm kind of liking a bit of pink again, so I thought, well, maybe that would be a good idea. I could knit that up. But I was thinking the Coastal Knits cardigan from the book Coastal Knits, but I don't enjoy the look of the big ribbed collar that's on it anymore. So I'm having second thoughts about that. And I had started another cardigan in fingering weight, but I didn't swatch for it before I started, and it was coming out too big, so I need to go back and swatch for that. But I wanted something I could just cast on right away. And I have yarn in my stash, which is this Ella Rae Classics Classic Heathers. This is the colorway 135, and it's a lovely, it's actually showing up brighter on the screen. It's a lovely muted mustard. I've had this for quite a while. I got this and a Merlot Heather colorway at the same time, like a burgundy. So this one I started, and I'm going to knit Hauser. This is a really bad picture because my ink is running out of my printer. But this is Hauser, and it's by Brooklyn Tweed. And what you can't see in the picture, it's actually very A-line shaped in the picture, and that's not how I wanted it to look. I want it to look the way it does right now, which is more streamlined. So I'm going to be making some adjustments along the way, and I'm doing the smallest size in hopes that I can get the fit that I want. I really love this drop shoulder type of sweater right now. That's what Wolf River is as well. So I also find the sleeves go super fast once you get to them because you've already knit all this, so you just have to basically go from about here down, so it goes really quickly. So that's what I'm knitting, and I just started it maybe 2 days ago, and I've just been knitting it when I have a break. So I've got about the ribbing done. I figure this is how much ribbing I want. I think it says maybe 2.5 inches, so I think that's probably good for me. So that's the start of the sweater. I'm hoping to get it all sectioned off and maybe I can start on the patterning soon. Those cables are going to be awesome to knit. Ooh, cold tea. Ooh. What else do I have to show you? Show you. So I also have a little bit of an announcement to make. Mars from Hey Brownberry, and I have started a business, and it's called Maker's Merch. If you haven't already heard about this, I'm telling you now. So our company is really to celebrate the makers. This community is so diverse, and we wanted to celebrate that, and that's how Maker's Merch came together. So the first 2 items that we have available for purchase are 2 collectible pins. So here's the first one, and it says Maker Community Member. This was designed to show everyone that you're a member of the maker community and proud of it. So these are our little pins. By Makers for Makers is our little tag, and you can follow us at Maker's Merch on Instagram, and on Etsy we have Maker's Merch at etsy.com where you can purchase them. So that's the first one. And the second one is the Knitrovert pin. Now when we designed this pin, the process is so long, like from when we designed it to when it actually was released. So by the time it actually was released, I was kind of like, I don't know if people are gonna like this pin. And when we did release it, it was just incredible how many people actually connected with it and said, yes, that's me. And so it was kind of interesting because clearly this pin, I'll show it to you, this pin is me, Knitrovert. So I'm an introvert and I love to knit. So this is me to a T. But I didn't know how many of you were actually out there. And it's kind of cool to see how many of you are out there and love the pin. So that's kind of neat. And as Maria from Ninja Chicken said, it could be any kind of vert. Introvert, extrovert. You're an introvert, you like to knit. You're an extrovert, you like to knit. It can go either way. But that's the pin. And we hope you fly your flag to show that you're an introvert. So those are our first 2 collectible items. There will be another release in the summer for some new items that we're working on, so we hope that you will check them out there. But in the meantime, connect with us on Instagram, Maker's Merch, and we do a Maker's Merch Whip Weekend right now. We're kind of doing it every other weekend. We love to see what you're making and to celebrate other makers, so we would love for you to hashtag Maker's Merch Whip Weekend on the weekends that it's running so that you can show us what you're working on. And it doesn't have to be knitting, it can be crochet, it can be sewing. My first one was gardening because I happened to be cleaning up the yard and making strawberry patches. It can be anything. If you're making something, we want to see it and we want to celebrate and show everybody else what you're doing. So that's Maker's Merch. We hope you'll check us out and we hope you like the pins. I do have some yarn acquisitions to show you, but here's the disclaimer right here. I did not purchase these yarns. These yarns were a gift, and so they do not count towards my purchasing, my get out of jail free card, if you will. Kate of Hawthorne Cottage lives in Ireland, not too far from where I used to live. My parents were over there looking after my grandmother recently, and she was looking for a certain kind of yarn, so I sent it over for her. I did not realize that she was going to be a sneaky sneak and send me yarn back with my dad. So when Dad arrived this week, I got a little brown paper package tied up with string, and I started singing. These are a few of my favorite things. So thank you, Kate. These are great. She sent me some Irish hand-dyed yarns, and I have never tried any of them because by the time we moved here I was too young to be into indie dyed yarns, and it hadn't really taken off then either. So the first one, this is Fine Fish Yarns, and if you follow Kate and her podcast, you will have heard about Fine Fish Yarns before. So I'm really excited to try this one. Fine Fish Yarns. This is the Core, is it Cora? Core sock. 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. The colorway is Bebop and Rocksteady, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's turtles! I used to watch Turtles growing up, so that's a great reference, and I can't wait to knit this one up and see how it looks. So it's very, the lighter color has a green tinge to it, and the darker, I thought it was purple, but I'm thinking it's actually brown. Let's see if I can get up close for you. So Fine Fish Yarns. And you can check her out. The second one she sent me is Bear in Sheep's Clothing. I hadn't heard of this dyer before, so I do need to look her up. There are 3 different yarns in this little bundle. The base is called Bear Sturdy, and it's 100% superwash BFL. Ooh. As soon as I took the yarns out of the package, T said, oh, I like this one. She loved how soft it felt. So these 3, there's 35 grams of each color. One is Tutankhamun, one is Spice Trail, and one is Spanish Gold. So I'm thinking maybe Tutankhamun, Spice Trail, and Spanish Gold, maybe? So those are the colors. And Bear in Sheep's Clothing is the company. The last yarn that Kate sent me is the Fiber Kitchen. Again, another one I haven't heard of. This is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And I guess it says thefiberkitchen.com is where you can find her. And it's a 4-ply sock yarn. It doesn't say what, oh yeah, superwash merino nylon. Duh. So this one is beautiful too. It's got lots of lovely colors. And how much is in this? This is 50 grams, so I'm looking forward to finding a heel-toe cuff combo that I can use for this one. Beautiful. So thank you so much, Kate, for sending this. That was not what I had planned. I had just planned to send you some yarn, not get any in return. So thank you very much. Beautiful. So I had told you my parents were in Ireland. There are, of course, treats that we all love from our childhood, and Dad never fails to bring some back for us. So other than the normal curly whirlies that the kids usually get, there's usually chocolate, and a lot of the bars that they have over there I can't eat now because I'm gluten-free, but I can still eat the candy. Although some of it, a lot of it tastes very sweet to me now because I don't do a lot of sugar, but once in a while I do like a little bit of sugar, so I'm happy with the choices he brought back. So the first one, Midget Gems. Yum. I haven't had these in a long time actually. A lot of the things we can get now at our local grocery stores, there's like a British import section, and we can get some things, but it's really expensive. Like one curly whirly costs like $2, or even more than that sometimes. So Midget Gems, these are probably my ultimate favorites. Blackjacks and fruit salads. I haven't had these in a long time either, and I kind of asked him if he could bring back some fruit salads and blackjacks. Then these, when I was little, these didn't come in a bag like this. They came in a white paper bag that you got from a giant jar, and they weighed them. These are rhubarb and custards. Unfortunately, they don't have the candy like that anymore. Oh, I just see these say they may contain gluten. I haven't had an issue with these before, but I'll have to keep an eye on that. So rhubarb and custard. They're also pear drops, I love those, and the apple tarts. All those classic sweets that are no longer around. And one more, and I haven't had this in a long time. This is Wham. And it's, for those of you that don't know, it's a chewy, it's almost like a cow tail you would get here. It's like a chewy bar, but this one has like sour powder through the middle of it. I haven't had this in years, but they were awesome too. My mouth is just salivating thinking about it. Yeah, so I'll be interested to get tucked into some of those occasionally. So thank you, Dad. I have one last whip to show you, and it is actually embroidery. I said that this year I wanted to get better at embroidery, and so far I haven't done a whole lot. I did start an embroidery cowl, which I need to catch up on, but I also started one evening. I was very ambitious, and it was before a birthday party for someone in the family, and I really wanted to do, I don't know if you've seen Namaste embroidery before, but she does these really great hoops that have a flower motif around it and then a word across the middle, and I thought, oh, that'd be great. I could put her name in the middle and do these flowers around it, and I thought, oh, I'll just whip that up, because it was the night before the birthday party, and I thought I was just gonna whip this embroidery thing up. I didn't get it done, needless to say, and I didn't get too far. So when I knew I wasn't going to finish it, I kind of put it aside for a while, but I'll show you what I have done. So this is Essex linen that I'm doing it on. It was just a gray Essex linen that I had in my stash. And I started to do the flowers around the edge. Now the roses are actually super easy to do, and I'm very happy with how those turned out. Two there and one there, and this little stitch here was very easy to do, but what I need to work on is oh, what is that stitch called? Herringbone, maybe? Anyway, it's the ferns, and I need to work on my execution. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull those out and try again. Where it was my first try. They're not too bad. This one's probably the best one, but I think that I could do better if I pulled them out and redid it. So I'm learning that. I also, when Craftsy had the free, was it 2 days or free weekend, I watched the Namaste embroidery class that she has on Be Craftsy, and I was really gung-ho to get this finished because she has a bear one, and I was able to get it when it was on for the free weekend, and I really wanted to do that bear, but I knew that I needed to master these stitches first before I even contemplate starting the bear. So yeah, I need to get back to this, and I probably will once my giant mojo, knitting mojo of all the sweaters calms down. But right now I just want to knit sweaters, and I want to knit them for my stash yarn, so how great is that? So that's my embroidery. I don't think I had anything else. I'll also just show you, a lot of people put their pins, their enamel pins on their bags, like their project bags. I have a fear of them falling off and losing them, because a prime example is the last time that I went to Good Vibrations that I shared with you on the last podcast. She gifted me this little pin, and it had knitting needles and some knitting on it, and I put it on the front of my bag, and it is now gone. It was a badge, not an enamel pin, but still, I don't want that to happen to an enamel pin, especially when you pay so much for them. So I made this cute little pin holder, and it's just an embroidery hoop and again some of my Essex linen, and I just put the pins on it, and so now I can hang it right on the wall behind me, right there, and I can look at them every time I come in. But I thought it was really cute, a cute idea for those of you that don't want to put them on their bags and lose, and possibly lose them. So yeah. So I think that is all that I have for this week. Just a few things before we end. I'm curious to know, and I'd like some feedback, do you guys use show notes? I know I haven't done them for the past couple of episodes. I don't know that they're very widely used, so A, do you use the show notes? Would you like me to continue to do the show notes? And Two, if you want me to continue to do the show notes, is it okay to just put them on YouTube in the box right below here? Or do you want them on Ravelry? What's easiest for you? My other question, what was my other question? Oh, do you read when I put things on screen? Is that helpful for you, or do you not? Are you too busy knitting to look up? Like, are you just listening to me, or are you using those captions on the screen and writing them down? If you're not, I won't do it anymore, and if you are, I will continue to do it. I just want some feedback on kind of those things, because they do take time, and I don't want to waste all that time if it's not being used. I do want to start another knit along soon, so I want to open up some conversation about that. So if you have any ideas of what we could do for another knit along, a quick knit along, it will be over a couple of months. Let me know. Should we do socks? I know a lot of people are doing socks. We just did a sweater knit along. So what could we do that's different? I hesitate to start knit alongs because I always end up failing at them. Again, I've said this many times, but my creative time is kind of my time to choose my thing, and if I don't want to knit on a certain thing during that day, then I don't, and it ends up snowballing and I start other projects, and before you know it, I have sucked at my own knit along. But I'm open to suggestions, and maybe if something falls in the category of what I'm working on, we can start another knit along. I also wanted to mention about Makers 9. I am still working away at my Makers 9, but since you have seen my finished sweater, I haven't actually been knitting the sweaters that are on my list. I have sent Emma a message and said, can we change out some of our choices? Because I knew this was going to happen to me. As soon as I put a picture of it down, I would change my mind and do something else. So if I can change a couple of my squares, maybe to Wolf River because I finished it, and maybe to Hosser, my new sweater, and I have another one that I want to start as well. So hopefully we can change things around, and then I can show you more of my Makers 9 and actually check off some boxes. Anyway, that is all I have for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, pop them below, or you can message me on Ravelry. I am Celtic Cast on Instagram and Ravelry. And don't forget to check out Makers merch on Instagram and Etsy. Thanks so much. Have a good week, guys. Bye. I can't wait any longer. I'm going in for the blackjack. Actually, I'm going in for the fruit salad. If I can get it open. Oh, I can smell the blackjacks. Fruit salad contains soy. Oh, how things have changed. Pineapple and raspberry. These are exactly how I remember them. I'm shocked. Normally when you eat blackjack, your tongue is completely black by the end of it. You must have changed something in them. Oh well, still yummy. Now I've got to go hide these from my kids. Dad, these were all for me, right?